What we're doing today is stripping the top half of this Jacobean chair. It's a style of the Jacobeans, and it's well known for these, what they call the barley twist. This is the spiral there. And again, our restorer today is my son George. And so we're spraying on the stripper there. This is the red one. And you'll see in these parts here how it absorbs in rather rapidly. The stripper goes onto the varnish and then very, very quickly absorbs into it. You always keep your trigger moving in a spray movement pattern, that way it doesn't drip everywhere. Chairs are fiddly little things. There's lots and lots of sides and faces, and the spraying is a very quick way of putting the product on. You can brush it, but as you see soon, when you come to keep the surface wet, it's not that easy. I'll turn the chair on. Now, anyone with any questions, just put them on the bottom of the screen there. We'll see them, answer them for you. If you have anyone you know that might be interested in what we're doing here today, if they can, if you could share it with them, that would be appreciated. Okay. Bottom round, what's that?
Yes.
These knobs. I grab the trigger. Just look at the tops of these. Can't handle it all. Okay. Now what we're doing here is part one. Where did I put that up there? Part one of the guide. This is stripping what's on the surface. So you apply the stripper, wait for the stripper to reach the surface, and in the red writing there, which is really important, it says keep the surface wet with stripper. So again, like I say, some people say, well, can I use a brush? And we say, yep, you can if you want, but the problem with the brush is that when you go to put more stripper on top of this to keep it wet, a brush is just a real mess. So George in a second is going to put some more stripper on the top. So, how far down is that? Any dry patches anywhere there, George?
Not really.
We're all good to go.
Yeah.
Now, before we do this, we had Laura write into us the other day, and she's got some chairs she's doing. And I said I would point out some things here. We're going to use a lot of steel wool here, Laura, and but in your job, the chairs you sent in, we'll be taking off the bulk on your ones with the trowel that George just showed. So So over here, Arthur. So your chair's, Laura, got a lot of these sort of surfaces here, and when you take it off, you'll be using like a trowel of some sort to just lightly drag that off. And a lot of these surfaces are going to be done with steel wool and brass brushes and things. So anyway, on with it, George. So this chair was originally finished with shellac, and then somewhere along its life someone put this brown tinted varnish over the top, and which blotted off all the grain completely. So just lightly drag that off. These type of varnishes just dissolve. We get a torch out, shall we? Okay, just turn that around. So you can see that's on there. So this is all the controlled mess part of it all. It's all just gooey. The other bits with steel wool.
There's all side bits. We'll do this other side first.
Where do you want it?
Yeah, perfect.
So this is our steel wool. It's a European wool, which is very sharp and long stranded, and it's ideal for these types of areas. So we're going to be using brushes later on as well. So that's on the guide it says remove the softened finish, and in this case we're using the blade, and we're using the steel wool, and we're also going to be using a brush. So it's a combination of items you use. Just use your steel wool in there, yep. Bring a little bit more stripper on that. George, before you do that, can you whip into there with the brush?
Sure.
I think our viewers are hanging out for it.
Alright.
So this is a soft copper
Maybe she'll
detail
turn the other
brush.
side so not in the way.
That's
of the
alright,
light.
you'll be into there.
Okay.
Look at that, guys. This is very, very soft copper, so it's not going to damage. This brush is perfect for carvings. The whole thing with our system is about no sanding, and the idea of no sanding is that the person that made this sanded it for us, and we're just going to reuse their old sanding, and that's how you'll hear this story repeated many times over the years, but it's still the same. Basically, the cabinet maker that made this chair sanded it, so why sand all that varnish off? Now, this is the cane, rattan cane, and the stripper will do no damage to that either, just does damage to varnish and paint. And so we're just stroking that off with the copper brush. George is going to re-wet up those bits. You can see the benefit of the spraying, just the quick ease, is doing light mounts. And what about the back of that, George? Do we?
The back of that's fine.
The cane on that?
Okay.
This is a very old-fashioned cane, this one. It's that you can see it's woven in. Not like the modern ones that are all pre-matted. They go into a groove and eventually fall out. These ones are actually hand-woven. Okay. So let's just zap a bit more stripper on there, and then we'll do the exciting one. Okay, so the barley twists, how would you do those? Well, what we do is we cut our wool a little longer, and we use it like a rope. This is a bit of a ooh and an ah. I think this will deserve a few heart shapes on the screen to float over. This doesn't lose the patina of the timber. The patina is Italian for pretty dirt, and you want to not lose its antiqueness. I'll go around after here and keep myself out of the firing line. Cool. Okay, you're doing this in now, yeah?
Yep.
Cool. So, you'll see in the background, we've got plastic on the walls. Yeah. So if you're setting up the garage for a bit of restoring, this is, we've got these masking plastics that you can protect anything else. Square. You get quite good with the triggers. You'll learn to reduce the pressure at times and can be more directioned. Whether the harder you pull the trigger, the more misty the spray is, so you tend to put it where you don't want it. But once you get a hang of it, you're away. So, where are we up to now, George?
Just taking a little bit of the details in here with the copper detail brush. Just one on there.
Can I suggest? I was doing this on a bonnet and it fell off the bench, just to be terribly exciting. Okay, so we're moving on to part 2 now.
Yes.
Cool. So, part 1, as I said before, it's taking off what's on the surface. So you just rip into it, George. And part 2 is where we're going more into the grain. And that's where, when the original stains and varnishes were put on, they soaked in deep. And so we've got everything off the surface that's sort of on top of it, the icing, so to speak. And now we're going to get into the grain itself, and that's part 2. This is the strip what's in the surface, and that's, you'll notice number 1 and 2 are both coloured red. Hang on a second. I might just put a little bit more on there, George. It looks a bit dry. Have a look up in there, Arthur. So these parts here, you've got to keep an eye on, and if it looks like it's dried out a bit, it's just that it's absorbed in deeper. So one of our tips is to always keep the surface wet. And a bit more in there. And these, a little spray of the whole thing. And okay, now, so just into it. So part 2 is stripper on, wait a couple of minutes, and then scrub the surface. It says with the correct scrubbing material, which is basically a combination of brushes, steel wool, and so you just use what's practical for each part, and then we'll wipe it dry at the end. So obviously the detail brush is ideal here. Now George is wearing these gloves I haven't talked about yet. These are a gardener's glove. So you just blast on, George. And these are ideal for these type of projects where you need a bit more dexterity. The timber is oak, which is pretty normal for these Jacobean pieces, and so the grain has got these little stripy bits in there. The stain and everything goes into those parts. Now, what can I chat about while we're watching this happen? Oh yeah, later on today at, what was it, 3 o'clock we said? Yeah, at 3 o'clock we're going to do a bonus live stream. We're going to do it on setting up your products so that we don't have to repeat all that stuff every time. We're going to do a live stream on setting up all different products, cleaning your products afterwards. So basically when you get a pack, setting it up ready to go. And so that will go onto our website and make it a bit easier for you guys. With the brushes, always got to be a little careful not to flick it into your face. The bristles, as you use them, they will launch little bits, so you've got to be mindful of where they're being launched to. You can see on this top square piece here how the stain and bits are coming out of grain, and because our stripper is virtually pH neutral, it doesn't bleach the timber, so there's no damage or furring or anything like that, so we're not creating any damage there. That one's coming on well. This is one of 2 chairs, and this is my wife Dorie's first ever acquisition on TradeMe. She was rather chuffed with it. Overseas, you might not know what TradeMe is. It's basically a version of eBay, I suppose. imagine how long this would take to sand, getting all those bits. I could normally get a chair like this done in around about an hour, and when you think of what it would be with Sandy being there for days. Look at that, those flowers there are brush too, George. Can you see in the camera here, Arthur? See these black lines, how the stain in there is popped to the surface, which is ideal to get rid of all that. Should we turn it around?
Yep.
Yeah. Squeaky table. We'll have to invest in some oil.
Can you swap positions? It's just the lights being blocked.
I could stand here and do the same. Okay, when's the flush? A little bit more on there, George. Okay, so should we turn around and do the flush part?
Yes.
Okay, this is part 3, so just go for it. And from that side. Okay. So part 3 on the guide, flush the surface clean, and we're using, this is coloured blue to go with the blue liquid, and it says spray scrub, spray white, and I'll remind you as we go. This is the flusher is a paraffin based spirit, and it takes a wee bit of time for it to dry, so it gives you a bit of scrubbing time. And what we're doing is we're spraying the flusher on, and then we're scrubbing it, spraying it again, wiping it dry. And this is not a neutralizer. A lot of people see our flusher as a neutralizer, and it's not. It's there to dilute the residues of both paint and varnish, as well as any leftover stripper, and it liquefies it so that you can take it off with the cloth. And obviously, again, these ultra fiddly projects, you're a little bit all over the place for a little bit, but it's coming along well. Something to be aware of too is this colour through here, this wet colour. That is the colour it would be if you were to now put a new finish on. So we say the wet look is the finish look, and so it's a real good chance to have a look at what you've achieved. So this is oak at its best when it turns into what I think is caramel. I wouldn't worry about the shield on this one, George. The flusher hasn't got any effect like the stripper. It's not going to dissolve anything, so it doesn't matter about a bit of overspray there. The stuff has quite a nice scent. It smells a little bit like candles. You got your new gloves on, have you? When you are doing the first part of the job, it's all this dark toffee stuff, and that will stain your gloves, and then later on when you're doing these final parts, that can migrate onto the job. So what George has done is put a clean set of gloves on, so that he's not going to spread the original stuff around. So again, spraying, scrubbing, spraying, scrubbing. So while George is doing a bit of that, just if you can see a little bit to the left there, you'll see our fan. What you can't see is the air gently breezing across us. So we often get a few comments that George is busy getting gassed, but he's not. There's a air movement, so you basically use the product. It's not a smelly product, it's a very, very low odour product compared to your normal paint strippers. There's no ammonia in it. So if you've got a basic bit of air ventilation going on, if you're outside working, then of course you've got a lot more ventilation going on, so it's not an issue. So can we all hear the squeak? Okay. So basically what George is doing there is he's liquefied residues and then the rag just takes it off, and by doing that you don't have to worry about getting the sander out. No dust. How's that looking, George?
It's looking perfect there.
Okay, outside. If you're lucky enough to have George restore something for you ever, which probably won't happen because he's retired, here's one very fussy restorer. It's nearing the end of the preparation. Now you'll see that this piece here has gone quite dry looking. Can we see that there, out there? It's sort of faded out, and that's the dry colour. And people often get tempted when they see it like this to get sanders out and these sorts of things, and we say don't. If you really need to trust in that wet colour with the flusher, and that will give you what you're going to get with the clear finish. So I'll just puff a bit of flusher on there. So can we watch that? So when it's wet, with the flusher, that's what you're going to get with the new finish. So it's a big tip when you're restoring, is people often get really paranoid. They'll strip it and it all looks good, and then the next day they'll look at it and they'll think, oh, I better just better give that a sand, and then turn it into a way bigger job than it needs to be. Okay, we done?
Done.
Done. Now, let's talk about wood finishing. After the live stream is finished, we're going to carry on, when I say we, I mean George, stripping the rest. We'll do that off live, and it'll just be joined into our tutorial that will come out in due course. Now, that's now ready for any finish. You could hopefully never paint it, but if you do, then there you go, it's ready. If you were polyurethaning it or shellacking it or danshoiling it, it's all ready for all of those. We have a finish, as George is going to rip into now, called moisturiser. There we go. There's that handsome chap on there. Amazing what Photoshop can do. And this is a finish we've made for, I don't know, about 30 odd years now. And it's a blend of gum, oil and wax. Incredibly easy to use. And it's a little bit, think of it like leather care for wood. And you don't have to wait for every last little bit of flusher to evaporate out. If you were clear finishing it with polyurethane or something, you would need to leave it till tomorrow before you do it. With this, you can strip, flush, and straight on with the moisturiser. And you don't have to be good with a brush. It doesn't matter how hot or cold it is. Humidity doesn't matter. You just slap this on, and again, don't have to worry about dust. If you're doing joinery or something and there's people in the house doing sanding or other stuff on plastering or anything like that, it doesn't matter. You can be finishing this with the moisturiser without any issues at all. Can you come around in the front, George, and continue? But, so as I said, it's a blend of gum, oil and wax, all synthetic. None of the ingredients mix with water, so it's water repellent. So this is not going to dry this product, it's going to stay wet, but we don't leave it greasy. But we put this on and it drinks into the timber, just absorbs in, and there'll be parts that are really thirsty compared to parts that aren't. These pieces in here, and in here, and in here, and in here, they're all what we call end grains. And they will all, there's this down in here, and up in here, they're all like little drinking straws, and the moisturiser is going to go deep. Again, these parts here, here, there. And so you can expect it to be thirsty, especially after all these years as well. So give it all it can take, just slap it on good and thick. It doesn't matter how thick you put it on. And this is also a completely non-toxic product. Doesn't taste very nice, but it is non-toxic. And ideal on this moisturiser is amazing. And
might as well just turn it around.
big dry patch there. You knew that, of course. quite good, this, in the way that you can strip a chair and then whack the moisturiser on, and it's like instant gratification. It's again, like if you're doing doors or anything, you can strip and finish a door as you go. You don't, and sort of keeps you motivated. And lots of parts in the chair. Now we leave this on for 2 days, not to dry, it's to drink. And it's there. And what it's going to do is just going to absorb, and you very quickly will see parts that are going to fully absorb it, those end grains that I was talking about, and I can see already on ends here, probably I wrote it off my hand before. The moisturiser can be sprayed. You do get a bit of overspray with it, and it's quite slippery, so generally people brush it on, but it can be put on in different ways. Now we're not going to leave it on for 2 days this time, of course, because people don't usually hang around for that long. What we're going to do is show you any patches that you can see drying or absorbing already. No, that's good. Maybe there's a bit here dry, George. It's very forgiving, the moisturiser. If you do miss a patch, it doesn't matter. Down this edge here. You can just go catch it up. If it was a polyurethane or something like that, if you missed a bit and then later on you do it, you'll have these layers where this doesn't have that. So we leave it, it drinks, we come back tomorrow, we check on all these end grains. You can expect to have to put more on there. You don't have to wait till tomorrow, you can come back an hour's time and do it. Now and when we believe that it's not absorbing anymore after that couple of days, you could leave it a couple of weeks if you wanted, but it doesn't matter if dust gets on it. But when you think it's had enough and it's not drinking anymore because the wet, greasy look stays, now you get yourself a dry cloth and you remove and buff what's the surface. And this is your finish. This is not a pre-treatment for polyurethane or something, this is the finish. So this gives you what we call a mellow glow, and this is where you've captured all the patina of the age, and so you're not turning an antique into something that's no longer an antique. This keeps all its little dings and dongs, all its history. I might grab a rag and help. You get on the other end and I'll do here. Now, as we do these live streams, what we're really, really keen to know is what you want to see the products working on. And so, if you can send in requests, and then we can hunt around, and we'll be doing on-site live streams as well. The weather's behaving itself on Thursday. We hope to be doing a window on site, so that should be exciting as well. So it's just this burnishing part. This part's pretty fast. It's not like polishing beeswax. Okay, let's put them down on the floor. And can you give us a quick wipe down, George? I'll put the products out on that. I've got it friend that I can put next to it. So a picture tells 1,000 words. We're just going to show you a couple of stripping packs. Last time we showed you the 10 litre. This time we're going to show you the 2 litre and the 5 litre. They're our two most common furniture packs. Can you move those chairs, George, to the back wall? Okay. So, good job, George. I think that says it all, and you can we'll later on strip the rest of it. But that's just you add that in the morning, and in the evening you got a bunch of them done. That's a pretty good job. So usually people have the question is well, how much do I need? What do I need? And what's it cost? And all those sorts of things. And as I said, we've got a 2 litre pack and a 5 litre pack. A chair. With a litre, you'll get usually about 3 chairs done. More or less, depending on the chair size, of course, how much wood it's got. But in general, we look at 3 chairs per pack litre. And here's that word again, pack litre. So a 2 litre pack, you can expect to get about 6 chairs done. So let's put the 5 aside. See what we get in there. So, the sizes, when we say a 2 litre pack, the numeral 2 comes from the fact that there's 2 litres of stripper in it. And in the pack you get this cool tap that screws on and makes really easy pouring for these. These just make life so much easier. And then lurking in here is a litre of flush. It's rare to use the same amount of flusher as stripper. There's only a few types of projects like that, but usually it's a 2-to-1 type game. And then we have a funnel for that one. We have applicator bottles and triggers, and we have a spare trigger because triggers don't last forever. And you have 2 metres of stripping wool. So for every litre you get a metre, and you get half a metre of the grip pad. Now you didn't see the grip pad today on the chair. This is one of the projects where the grip pad wasn't used, but it was used on the door that we did the other day. And you get a couple of the copper detail brushes. You get a small 4-edge blade, which again we didn't use today on these types of chairs, but if you were stripping paint or some of the polyurethanes, you use this to drag off the old finish. So on what was that, Laura, your chairs, this might be the you might use this blade to take the varnish off when it's all softened. Okay, so that's that there. And in all these packs we have a small complimentary jar of the moisturiser. And so if you're not sure about it, then this comes in the pack, and so you can give it a go. So that's that. So that there would do about 6 chairs, and the prices obviously alter all over the world, so we ship worldwide. And so you go on to our website, which is coopersstripclub.com, and we've got that up there. So you go on there and you can see what the price is where you live. As I say, we We ship worldwide, we air freight, and so we sent a package out yesterday to Australia. My boys say we do more than one pack, Dad, but we put one on yesterday and it's already in Sydney today, so it goes pretty fast. So I'll quickly put that away and show you the difference between they pack it a bit more better than me. So we'll chuck them over here and we'll get the 5 over. Yeah. Now, we've got packs that go from a 2 to a 200 litre. Most of our packs are based on this 5 litre configuration where it's like 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up. On our website, you'll see pictures of a 2, a 5, a 10, a 20 and a 40, but there's sizes in between. So, 5 litres of strip with the tap. Over here the little sample moisturiser. And then 2 litres of flush. Funnel. You can, if you want, take that funnel off that one and put it on that one if you want, but it's up to you. Now, 5 metres of wool. And actually I made a mistake. That's actually not 2 litres of flush, it's 2.5 litres of flush. It's half the amount. And now, you don't get 2 applicator bottles with a 5 because the flush is already in an applicator bottle. So what you do is you just put the trigger straight on. Now, bunch of triggers. So obviously the more liquid, the more triggers you're going to need. So you need, of course, those for there, plus you've got some spares. And 3 brushes and little blade again. And you've got yourself a metre of the grip pad, that 250mm length. And so that's him. So it doesn't, things don't double, like you don't need from a 2 to a 5 litre pack the same amount of brushes more. We don't load it up with stuff you don't need. And that's the 5 litre pack. So with this size, you would get your 6 chairs done, you would get a dining table done, and you'd probably get a sideboard done. So when you look at the price of the 5 and you look at the pieces of furniture you're getting done with it, it's incredibly good value. And so it's cheaper per pack litre for a 5 than a 2, but if all you need is a 2, then that's the size to get. If you need a 10, then a 10 is what you get. Okay, so that's the product part, and that's that. This is on my list of things. Such a long time ago since I wrote it up. Yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow's Automotive Day, and this is it's not a bonnet, because it's at the back of a VW Beetle. So Google tells me that it's called an engine lid. As you follow a VW Beetle, you'll see this. And I was we were given this when we were in Ashburton recently doing a show. I can drop that. And we stripped this corner, and it came out really good. So a man by the name of Ryan came in with another one of these for his Beetle that he was doing up, and he came back later in the day and said, I've got a spare one of these, you can have it. So cheers, Ryan, appreciate that. So we'll half strip it because we'll use this one as a display, so we'll do that half. So anyone out there that knows anyone that's into the dubs, you can spread the word, that'd be cool. And the last thing is our strip club that we have on our website. If you are interested in purchasing a tool, the trick is go online, again, to cooperstripclub.com, and all our products are there. But if you join our strip club, you'll get sent a voucher which gives you a discount, and that's always a good thing. So anyway, cheers and thanks for watching, and we'll strip the rest of this chair and join it all together. So if you're looking for a stripper,
the stripper that gets it off?
Really gets it off.
It really gets it off.
Cooper's, the stripper that gets it off
Every time.